Hi everybody. Okay, in this video, I'm going to be upgrading my current motherboard, which is based on the 370 chipset, socket AM4, to this motherboard that has an X570 chipset from AMD. Now, there's nothing wrong with the motherboard that I'm currently using except for the fact that I intend to use this with VMware ESXi for my lab. So the issue with the current board is that it gives a purple or pink screen of death. I'm not even sure what the color is at random. VMware gives that error when there's no load on the system, when it just sits there idles and their time in the timing when it occurs is completely random. There's no way to predict when it will crash. The closest thing I narrowed it down to is a problem with the firmware of the network card that's built in onto this motherboard. Now, I could disable, I can't disable the network card on the board itself, but I could have tried to blacklist the driver for the network card in VMware itself. Uh, and I decided not to do that. I just simply um, want a fully working stable lab system, so I decided to try this board. There's very little information of which boards work and which don't. It's not officially supported on this platform, but uh, this is blind and unscripted, not sponsored by anybody, so we're gonna go ahead and try. Now, this first part of the video is just going to be me physically upgrading the board, installing a new NVMe SSD onto this board, and also installing a new power supply, this guy over here. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started removing the old stuff. Okay, so it's a little bit dusty, nothing too major. I'll be cleaning it up later. So this has not been prepared beforehand, so it's just as is. I'll start by unplugging the fans, and this is a PCI Express power. I used to have a Radeon 5700 XT installed into this, but when I decided to convert it from a more of a gaming computer and a workstation machine to a ESXi server, in order to save on power consumption, I decided to put in a old school passive Radeon 5000 something 1 GB of video RAM, because I will not be I do not intend to use the video card on the system at all. So this is perfectly fine for what is needed. And this thing. PCI Express network cards, 1 gigabit. Work perfectly fine with the VMware ESXi 6.7 and 7.0. These cards, these are really old cards, but they work perfectly fine for labbing purposes. Unplugging all the PCI, the SATA connections. I'm gonna remove this drive. Also, 8 terabyte surveillance, Toshiba surveillance drive, just for backups and static storage, stuff like that. And gonna release this video card. What is this thing? I don't even remember. It's a VT5450 with 1 gigabyte of video RAM. It is just for video output purposes only, so it doesn't matter. Now, this is a Noctua heatsink fan for the CPU. It would not be possible to remove this without removing the board. So before this comes out, the board has to come out. Removing the ATX power, another fan header, USB 3.0, the dreaded USB 3.0 connector, and another power cable. Front panel connections come out. HD audio front comes out, and if I can reach it, I don't think I'll be able to reach. Yep, I got it. Okay. And CPU power 8-pin comes out, and the CPU fan. And we're ready to remove this motherboard. I'm going to use that magnet trick that I used. Just put a magnet on the screwdriver and have the screws not fall off the screwdriver. before. Six. Last screw. Okay, we're ready to remove the old motherboard. And there it is. Okay, forgot to remove one of the power switch button. So here it is. With the heatsink and the memory and the M2 SSD. There we are. I'm gonna get this case out of the way and put this right there. Okay, so alright, so I remember how to do this. And this comes out. A little bit dusty. I'm gonna just kind of clean off the fins with my hand to remove just any major dust buildups. It's not too dusty, so it's okay. Now, the heatsink comes off now. I like to not completely remove the first screw before starting on the second screw so it comes up evenly. Well, as evenly as possible, at least. Okay. There we go. Now, I have a feeling that the thermal compound is Not going to release too easily. I don't want to yank it out of the socket alone when removing the heatsink. Actually, it is moving. So I'm just going to gently, while I wobble it around, lift it up, and it should be good. There we go. Well, that's that. Now, memory comes out. This is 64 gigabytes of DDR4 3600 by G-Skill. This is the memory that is used in this build. This memory works perfectly. Runs at full speed. No problems at all. Our old motherboard is, I forgot what it is, GIGABYTE GA X370 Gaming K5. This is what we are going to be replacing. There it is. It's blocked off by you can see the name over there. And a little dusty here. Perfectly good motherboard. As a matter of fact, the processor we're working with is 3950, 16 core, 32 thread, Ryzen 9. It works fine with this motherboard after the BIOS update. So the only reason I'm replacing this is because I need VMware ESXi to work properly. And there is no guarantee that ESXi will work properly with the new board, but I'll try anyway. So we'll see what happens together. And I'll remove this CPU. A little bit of... There we go. Now it'll come right out. And I'll put this board onto the side. Now, to remove the thermal paste, the old thermal paste, my go-to solution for that is the Arctic Clean. I've been using it ever since it first came out. It is perfect for dissolving old thermal paste or thermal pads. Rubbing alcohol will work just fine as well, but I like to use this stuff because it works better on more stubborn, older baked-in thermal pads or paste. But the old thermal paste I was using, it's still in good condition. It didn't dry up or crack. And what I was using before this was you can't even see the name of it because it's so old. It is Antec Nano Diamond Formula 7. I have been using this ever since it came out, but I haven't bought any new tubes for at least 5 years. I've installed the system a year ago with the old stuff that I bought 6 years ago, and it was just fine. It worked perfectly. So I wasn't able to find any of my old favorite thermal paste to buy as of today, so I'll be using this stuff. I never used it before. Options were limited when I went to the store, so I just grabbed it, and well, um, we'll see how that works out. Now, to start cleaning off our old thermal paste. I use 2 drops and use my finger to spread it around the IHS and let it sit there for just a little bit to get dissolved. Okay. Same thing on the heatsink. Spread it around. Try to get some off the sides. And my CPU die. I mean IHS. Okay, so got some Q-tips. 1 drop on the Q-tip of solution number 1. Oh, missed it. There. And we'll clean off the corners, the edge of the IHS. Okay. And then do another pass of solution number 1. 2 drops. 2 drops. Spread it around. I'm gonna grab a clean piece of paper towel. Let it sit for a minute or so. Now do the same thing that I did for the edge. New Q-tip, one drop. Going to get any residual old thermal paste out from the edges. More here. New Q-tip. Nice. So looks like we got all the thermal paste out. Now before applying any new thermal paste, we're gonna do step 2, which is the surface purifier. I'm going to also put a few drops. Spread around my finger and IHS. There we go. Give it a few seconds and then we can clean it off. New Q-tips. The edges. There we go. Same thing here. Clean. Surface purifier. This stuff away. And this guy. Perfect. Here is our Ryzen 9 3950X, ready to be installed into the new motherboard. Here's the surface of our heatsink for the CPU. There. This can go this way. And this thing can go over here for now. Now I need a can of air. Going to move this aside. This thing also. So this guy here is revision 1.2. Let's see if we have any luck. ESXi setup. At this point, we don't need anything else from the motherboard box. Gotta peel this stuff off. It's a good way to grab this thing. And there we go. Okay. Socket M2A, M2B, and M2C. So might as well use socket M2A for the SSD. And Screwdriver's not going to work. Little screwdriver that I had right over here. Ah, there it is. Okay. I might as well leave the magnet on it. Hmm. Let me see the size of this SSD. Hmm. Oh, this fits here perfectly. So, I think I changed my mind and I'm just gonna put this SSD into this slot over here. That way it fits perfectly. And I'll leave these for possible future use. Let's see. Looks perfectly fine. The heat spreader that goes on top does not push the NVMe SSD far down too much. Well, not at all actually. It fits perfectly. So this is great because I had motherboards that pushed the actual SSD down, and it kind of bends like this. So I didn't like that at all. But this motherboard does not have that problem, which is great. I'm really happy about that. Oh, this has dual BIOS, which is pretty common with the Gigabyte motherboards. What else do we have here? Looks good. Yeah. I wanted to get a motherboard with two network interfaces, but the issue with that for my purpose is that I'm looking to use this with the SXI, and the available configurations that I've seen have one Intel chipset for the network and one Realtek chipset. The Realtek chipset does not work with VMware, which, well, there are hacks and like available drivers to make it work, but I'd rather not reserve to like hacks. This is not gonna be an enterprise production thing, but I don't want it to be unstable for, well, unknown reasons. So we're gonna go ahead now and remove our mounting mechanism for our Noctua heatsink and plug it into the new board. So, screwdriver. Okay, this we'll need to save for later, just in case I ever need them. Okay, so magnet. Okay. A little battle with the laws of physics over here. Okay, so this looks like it's not important which side I'll be installing this on. I'm gonna do them one at a time. Hmm. Okay, I can work with that. Those little mounting spacers were kind of attached to the plate. Okay, this has been working for about a year and some change in the old with the old motherboard. Because I got the CPU, the 3950, as soon as it came out, as soon as it became available in retail. I was refreshing the refreshing the page, saw some in stock, placed my order. Next thing I know, they were out of stock, but my order went through, went to pick it up after work, and had the 3950 a few days after it came out. And I know the new 5000 series Ryzen based on Zen 3 is out already, and this is already yesterday's news with these 3000 series CPUs, but let me tell you, they are still very, very powerful and very capable. So here I'm just tightening this about between 60 and 90 degrees to give it some stability, no over tightening it. And I'm just gonna lay this down. Just give it a final there. Perfect. This thing and this thing there. Ready. Okay. Give it a quick dusting. I see a little bit of thermal paste here. nothing at all that would interfere with the operation, but since we're here, might as well make it as clean as possible. I'm just doing this to get rid of any potential fibers that are in the air. Perfect. There is our mounting brackets and our CPU installed onto the new board. Now we can see here why I did what I did with the can of air. If I can get it to focus just right. Aha. We have some imperfections. Not imperfections on it, but like on the surface we have those fibers from the paper towel we used. Stuff like that, just random stuff. Now there is, the surface looks much better. Now that those imperfections that you see on the bottom, those are not nothing foreign. They're just like scuffs on the actual surface of the heatsink themselves. So that's probably where the CPU IHS made contact with the heatsink surface. New, never before used thermal paste. For me at least. I've never tried this stuff. This should last me 5 years. Maybe. Don't know, but looks like a generous amount. I did use thermal paste based on zinc oxide before, so this isn't my first time using this type of thermal paste, but this specific thermal paste, this is my first time, so I'm just gonna put some on a paper towel to see how it behaves. Looks good. Nice and soft. This is not supposed to be capacitive or conductive, so that's a plus. Now, the good old-fashioned dot method. I know this may be a little bit more. Yeah, it is a little bit more, but it's okay if it seeps out of the edges, as long as there's no pockets left over where air could superheat and get trapped. So once the pressure of the CPU heatsink goes down, this will spread out and seep out of all sides on the edges, so will be nothing to worry about in that regard. All right, that should be good. Let me take off this magnet. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's see how this worked out. There is thermal paste seeping out of oh, it's perfect. I can see all the edges of the of the of the IHS from here. So the thermal paste is seeping out of every side. So that means we did get full coverage of the IHS, and we should have no problems at all with the temperature. Excellent. Nice. And mhm. Everything looks good. Okay, so mm, I'm just trying to align the fan with the heatsink properly, well, as evenly as possible, so that way it's nice and in the middle. Is it centered? Um, mm, yeah, I'm not tight. I'm not putting this thing on tight enough. So I guess you guys would want to see me actually put this on. So let me start from the beginning. All right, so let's get this into focus. Something like that. Okay. So I'm looking to center it based on the mounting holes of the fan, because this is just like a regular fan that you would install in your case, but it has some mechanisms that uh, that allow you to mount it onto this heatsink. There, we got the left side, and now we're gonna go for the right side. There. Now, that's how we mounted it, using these clips here. They go on like this. Like that. So I'm just going to double check if it is completely centered on both sides. It's not absolutely necessary to do it, but since I'm here, I might as well do it. So I'm just gonna verify the pin spaces. I mean, heat sink fins. The distance from the bracket, the mounting bracket, to the edge. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. And on this side we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 13, 14, 15. So it's perfectly centered. Now what I did right now is I just counted the amount of spaces in these fins from where this mounting bracket enters to the top on both sides. So I counted 15 on both sides to make sure that this is centered perfectly. Absolutely unnecessary, but it might as well be on straight. Perfect. And this side also. And how is this working for us? Yeah, nice. And okay, so how do I want to? Doesn't really matter too much. Uh, in these tower coolers, what would be ideal? I already tested this before on the previous build that I had. Is we have the fan low enough to push some. Let me see if I can. There. This is our fan mounted, and it's pushing air from the front to the back. And we have some of it coming out from the bottom. And this air is going to travel over this uh, voltage regulator heat sink that is right over here, right there. So it will cool off our voltage regulator, and it's connected by a heat pipe to the one over here also. So when the air is going to be pushed over, cooling off our CPU, some of it will go over this right here heat sink for the voltage regulators, which was a problem a while ago, because you have your stock fans that blow the air down to the motherboard and cooling off all the components around the CPU, which get hot due to, well, it's pretty much your power supply on the board, not your main power supply, but for the motherboard, for the CPU, that's your power supply for the CPU. And it gets hot, so you need to cool it off. And that's something to be mindful of. This is mostly for people who use water cooling. You want a way to um, cool off that part of your board. And so I have a little little noise adapter. So I had this resistor here to make the fan spin slower because I'm not overclocking and I'm not using it too heavily. So as a matter of fact, as a part of this whole series of videos that I'm going to be uploading, uh, including the installation of ESXi and any relevant testing to the hardware, I would like to undervolt and underclock the CPU because I don't need it to turbo boost or whatever it's called for AMD today. I don't want it to I don't want it to I want it to be smooth, stable, and steady voltage. I do not need uh, bursts. I do not need it to burst. So memory. And we're good. Now, to see if it works. This thing over here. Now, do I want to test it with the old power supply first or go all in? I think I'm going to just install the motherboard and connect the power, see if it comes up. If there's no issues, I'm going to make another video changing the power supply. So there's that. I think that would be the best course of action. I have an 8-pin CPU power header here. I'm not sure if I'm going to need an additional one because this one has an 8-pin and a 4-pin. So I think it should be fine with just the 8-pin. Of course, when I install the new power supply, I'll plug in the 8-pin and the 4-pin, but just to test to see if there's no issues. I think this is more than enough. And oh, I/O shield from the old motherboard, of course. And this guy. First motherboard that I own with a built-in I/O shield, which is great. And move this cable here. And I have a where's that little, there we go, that little standoff over there. Yep, that is perfect. Yeah. I don't need to screw it in right now. I think, no, I'm gonna screw it in because why not? If I wanna move it or something and then I forgot I didn't screw it in, it won't be nice at all. So I'll just, oops. Grab that thing. Make sure all the mounting holes are aligning properly. space over here. Okay. And there we go. Trying to get the thread in there. I'm not tightening the screws all the way just yet. I just don't want it to go anywhere if I move it. And last screw. I wonder if this thing has a power button on board. Q Flash Plus. Hmm. What about in the back? Huh. Yeah, there's no power button on board. Which is not a deal breaker by any measure, but would be nice to have a button on a board like this. And yeah. I don't see a button on board. Whatever. So, power supply. Mm-hmm. CPU. Mm-hmm. Video card. Where's that video card that I had? There. Okay, that's good. Screw. There we go. And it is good. Moment of truth. So for this, I'm gonna need a random keyboard and a mouse. All right. Plug these guys in here. And, of course, an HDMI cable. HDMI cable. And a power cord. Power cord is over there. So first, let's see if it powers up, and if it does, I'm gonna remove the capture card and plug in the output. Output from the video card into the capture card. Okay. Let's see here. Screwdriver. Screwdriver. Can't see very well. Gonna grab the manual to avoid shortening random front panel. Well, this is a lot of stickers. Oh my god. Well, that's a lot of stickers. Okay. So we have, let's see. '21 is Q Flash Plus, so that's the only button that's on this board. And we have ATX V12.1 to meet the expansion requirements. Power supply can withstand high power 500 or greater. Okay. With the use of a power connector, the power supply can supply enough stable power before connecting the power connector. Yep. Okay. Let's see. SATA. M.2. Here we go. Front panel connector. Power LED power switch. So this guy. And we are live. Weren't there supposed to be all kinds of LEDs on this thing? Not that I'm complaining, I'm not a fan of LEDs. Oh, there it goes. That's the, it's over there. I mean, what RGB stuff. Yeah, that stuff. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the camera and connect the output of this computer to the capture card. Here we go. And let's see if it's alive. No output. Oh, there it goes. I just needed a second to detect it. Perfect. Oh, that's okay. So, first check. Airflow here. Airflow going over the voltage regulators on the board. Perfect. Let me reboot this thing. Alt Control Delete. Can turn off my camera now. BIOS has been reset because why not? And we have all our memory. Not configured yet, of course. BIOS version F22, we're gonna have to update that. Samsung, the 500 gigabyte NVMe SSD now. Where's the advanced mode? Oh, advanced mode F2. Okay. So let's see here. We'll be tweaking this in a later video. For now, though, I think I'm going to be downclocking this and undervolting it. Well, before I do any of that, I'll probably want to install install ESXi on it and make sure it works fine. CPU temperature is great, 31 degrees Celsius as read in the BIOS. This motherboard has a fairly new, relatively new BIOS version, which is only 5 months old. Everything looks very, very good. Yep. Okay, so we've swapped the motherboards in this video. I think this is enough for this particular video. How long has it been going on? An hour and 21 minutes. Wow. Okay, yeah. So, load defaults, save, and I will leave it at that. And the next video, which I'll start recording shortly, I'm going to install the power supply, the network cards, and physically finish this box pretty much. And clean it up. No, I think I'm going to, I don't know if I should record cleaning it. I might as well. So yeah, clean it up, install the rest of the expansion slots, install the new power supply, and connect everything. Because I have 3 more SSDs in this thing. The hard drive, 8 terabytes that I removed earlier. I'm gonna put in Windows on this thing, run some stress tests, run mem test, make sure everything is stable, and then we will continue. Um, the quality of this motherboard is great. Then we will continue with installation of VMware and hope for the best. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope this was useful to you guys.